How does the fixed general account portfolio interest rate affect IUL, Indexed Universal Life?
Now, what are you doing? You're telling the insurance company, don't you take one dime of my $1 million in my policy and invest it in the S&P 500 in the stock market. That's variable life. That's linking to an index mutual fund. That's not what this is. Indexing is a strategy, okay?
Listen, this is critical for you in order to understand how an insurance company can afford to pay you 8% or 12% or 16% or higher, even though they're only earning 4 or 5% on their investments, okay? Get ready. You're going to gain insights into how IUL works that most people never do understand, including many IUL agents. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been helping people now for 5 decades optimize assets and minimize taxes using one of my favorite financial vehicles, properly structured, max-funded, indexed universal life insurance policies. Now, if it's properly structured, there are many episodes I have on this channel that talk about what that means, where you're taking the least amount of insurance the IRS will let you get away with to accommodate the amount of money that you want to reposition to increase liquidity, safety, and rate of return so that it turns into this tax-free cash cow where it accumulates your money tax-free. You can access it tax-free. When you die, it blossoms and transfers tax-free. But it passes the liquidity, safety, and rate of return test with flying colors. And that every $1 million you accumulate can generate a 10% payout, $100,000 a year of tax-free income. Well, how does this money inside of an IUL policy grow at these rates of return that I'm talking about? If you don't understand this, or your agent doesn't understand this, you might be lucky to earn 6, 7, 8%, but only net 2 or 3% after costs. I want to see you learn how to diversify and rebalance with a properly licensed, certified IUL specialist. And then you can have a better chance of earning 8, 9, 10, 11%, like many of our clients have earned an average of over 11 and they've netted over 10. Only 1 percentage point covered the costs that would otherwise go out the window on unnecessary tax if they left their money in tax-deferred IRAs or 401ks where they'd have to earn 15 or 16% to net 10, okay? And so it all has to do with what linking to an index is. Now, a lot of times, there's even insurance agents that have this myth conception that indexed universal life is simply a life insurance policy where the cash values are invested in an indexed mutual fund. No. An indexed mutual fund like the S&P 500 index, if you had your money invested in an indexed mutual fund in 2001 to 2003, you would have lost about 40%. And again, in 2008, you would have lost 40%, $1 million inside of an insurance policy. If the money was invested in an indexed mutual fund, $1 million would have dropped down to about $600,000 twice in that decade. Our clients never lost a dime in 2001 to 2003, and also in 2008. In fact, they not only didn't lose, they were cheering. Go, go, because they didn't lose anything. In the first 90 days of 2009, many of them locked in gains that year of 16% tax-free after not losing a penny. Most Americans who had their money in an indexed fund, it took 4 years until 2012 to make up for the loss, 40% loss that they incurred in 2008. Okay? So this is critical to understand this. So the general account portfolio interest rate in an insurance policy is really the money that you're paying in premiums and the interest the insurance company is earning on that with their investments. Now, they want to earn money so they can afford to credit you interest and to have the wherewithal to pay out a death benefit if you happen to die. And they're there to make a profit too. But here's simply how it works. When an insurance company brings in millions and billions of dollars of premiums per year, that ends up being many times billions of dollars, even trillions, okay? There's one insurance company that I used for myself that that they actually manage more money than the Internal Revenue Code, the Internal Revenue Service, rather, collected in taxes in an entire year. One insurance company, okay? So they manage billions and trillions of dollars. Where do they put that money? Well, they put it to work. They don't put it in some vault earning nothing. So if they loan money on shopping malls and skyscrapers, they don't loan 80% loan to value. Insurance companies are very conservative. They might loan 50% loan to value. So that if they ever have to foreclose on a skyscraper because the real estate market has gone down, they come out smelling like a rose because they're not over loaned. They haven't loaned more than the value of the property, even if the value of the property dropped in half, because there's times that real estate does that. Banks and credit unions, they get into trouble. They have to foreclose, and then they have to sell the property for 50 cents on the dollar because they loan way more than the worst case scenario of what the property may drop down to. Insurance companies generally don't get caught that way. Insurance companies might invest in AAA and AA bonds, okay? Not a bunch of junk bonds if it's a good insurance company. They might invest 10 or 15% of their general account portfolio in some stocks, but these are stocks that are the blue chip that have been around for a long time. But generally speaking, okay, they don't put it out in risky investments. This is why in a low interest environment, an insurance company's general account portfolio, these billions of dollars, they might be earning 5%, okay? Now, they need about one of those percentage points for themselves, for their profit, for their overhead, all their employees and everything else. And so you have the gross general account portfolio rate. Let's say it's 5% in a low interest environment, because interest rates are low. Interest rates are relative. When interest rates are low for borrowing, they're low for earning. Now, back in the 1980s, general account portfolios of insurance companies were earning, 10, 11, 15, 16%. I never got credited less than 11.75% on my universal life from 1980 to 1990, and I got credited as high as 15.5%. But if you remember, interest rates were high for earning, but they were also high for borrowing. I was paying on my mortgage on my house 12% interest, and a second mortgage was 18%. But I was still making money because they were charging me 18% tax deductible interest in a 33% bracket. That was a net cost of 12, and I was earning 15.5 on my IUL because interest rates are relative. Now, let's go back to this concept. The general account portfolio rate in a low interest environment, if they're earning 5% on their AAA, AA bonds or mortgages and what have you, and they need one of those percentage points for them, that's a net of 4. So now that is what they credit you. So if you feel bearish about America, you can just tell the insurance company that year, just pay me the general account portfolio rate. So if you had $1 million at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, that's what you chose, you'd have $1,040,000, okay? So you made $40,000 of interest. So that's 4%, which when interest rates were low, banks were only paying 1%. So you're doing better than having your money in a bank. Getting 4 times as much interest, in fact. So that's what you would get in a low interest environment. Now, as interest rates start to creep up, then insurance companies start raising caps and everything. But when you link to an index, what's happening? You might, if you're settling in a given year, because you think we're headed for a recession, you're settling for 4, 4.5, or 5%. That's okay, because at least you're getting 4 or 5%. If you link to an index and the market crashes, you don't lose the money you had in your insurance policy. If you had $1 million, you still have your $1 million, but you didn't lose anything because of that market crash, but you didn't make anything. But zero sometimes is your hero when you don't know what the market's going to do and it crashes unexpectedly. But why does this come into play when you're linking to an index? Here we go. If I'm earning a net of 4, that's 40,000 on my $1 million. All I'm telling the insurance company, if I choose to link to an index, let's use the S&P 500, but I could choose 5 different indices and diversify, right? 200,000 of my $1 million could be linked to the S&P 5, 200,000 to the Dow Jones, 200,000 to the Russell 2000, the Barclays U.S. Dynamic Balance Index. I could leave 200,000 to earn the general account portfolio rate, okay? So you can diversify. Let's keep it simple. Let's say it's all linked to the S&P. Now, what are you doing? You're telling the insurance company, don't you take one dime of my $1 million in my policy and invest it in the S&P 500 in the stock market. That's variable life. That's linking to an index mutual fund. That's not what this is. Indexing is a strategy, okay? You're telling the insurance company, keep my million safe earning 4%. But I will relinquish the 4% interest on my million. You can take that $40,000 of interest that you're going to earn on it, and you don't have to keep it for me. You can use that $40,000 to do whatever you need to do to have the wherewithal to pay me whatever the S&P does. Well, this is a no-brainer. The insurance company is now off the hook to keep hold of your $40,000 of interest. They go out and they buy upside options in the index you chose, in this case, the S&P 500. So they use $40,000 to buy upside options, okay? Now, if you don't understand options, that's okay. You'll understand this. Listen close. They buy options, meaning if the market goes up, 40,000 of options will double to 80 grand or 120 grand. They'll double or triple. And now the insurance company has the wherewithal to pay you 8% on your million or 80,000 if the market went up 8%. If it went up 12%, they have the wherewithal to pay you 120,000 based upon the price of options, okay? And so people say, well, how can they afford to do that? They know what they're doing. They're big boys and girls. They're the number one purchaser of options in the world. They buy them hourly. They have the wherewithal to credit you whatever it does. But let's say you guess wrong and the economy tanks. Those options, what happens to them? If the market is less than when they expire, worthless. But you don't lose your million. Your million still is in the insurance company earning 4. You gave up that 4% that year, but the next year you still have your million and you can link to an index or you can just settle for the 4%, whatever you want to do. But see, your principal is safe. You will not lose one dime of that principal due to a market downturn. That's the beauty of indexing, which is different than an index mutual fund. So the general account portfolio basically tells you if you feel bearish about America, what you would settle for this year. Oh, I'm just going to get 40 grand on my million. I'm just going to get 4%, which is fine. But if you're linking to an index, that's where the money's coming from to allow the insurance company to afford to pay you 8 or 12% or 16%, or maybe if there is no cap, whatever it is, minus the threshold, that gives them the wherewithal to pay you whatever the index does because they're buying options with the interest you gave up on the general account portfolio rate. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. If you want to learn more and you're a member of the general public, I would strongly recommend you study my most recent best-selling book. It's in its 9th printing. It's been flying off of our warehouse shelves. You can get it on Amazon for $20 plus shipping. I'll gift you one free. You simply go to laserfund.com or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount toward the shipping. I'll cover the rest of that cost, and I'll pay for the book. It's actually 2 books in one. 2/3 of it, 200 pages, is this side. The charts and graphs and explanations, that's for the left brain learner. If you're a right brain learner, you flip it over to this one. This is about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories, okay? Now, I'd recommend you read both the right and left brain side, but if you study this and you watch some videos, because when you're in there claiming your free copy, check out if you like to listen, learn, and watch and learn. Those who do that, they know more than 99.9% of IUL agents in this country. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure that you have an IUL being structured correctly, don't just trust your nephew or your friend or your brother-in-law. Here's how you can know. When you're in there claiming your free copy, you can schedule a free consultation, no cost obligation, with an IUL certified professional. We have an organization called IUL Insiders, and this is where IUL agents join to be part of this coalition, and they invest in getting educated. And the ultimate is then to become certified, to become a certified professional. This is not easy. It's a 100-question proficiency exam that most advisors in this country wouldn't even score 20% because they wouldn't understand 80% of the questions. You must pass it with 100% to become certified. that's who I would recommend you talk to. And so when you're in there claiming your free copy, you can schedule an appointment, no cost or obligation, to talk to a certified IUL specialist, and you can see the difference between the illustrations they create and the ones that do not know what they're doing create, because it's a huge difference. But that is the significance of the general account portfolio rate. When do you use it? When do you link to an index? When do you switch back and forth? In 2001, after 9/11 terrorist attacks, the market dropped. If you were just sitting there in an IUL policy, the next 2 years you also got zero. And in 2007 and 2008, you would have gotten zero. You had 5 years, you got zero. The other 5 years, you would have made money, and 2 of those years you would have capped out. You would have averaged in that 10-year period called the Great Recession 7.23%. $1 million would have doubled to $2 million. Most of our clients, they averaged 11%. Why? Because after 2001, it crashed. The market didn't turn around. So we just said, switch back to the general account portfolio rate. And they earned back then 5, and then 5 the next year. And in 2007, they earned 0, but 2008, they didn't. They earned 5% again. Just by going back to the general account portfolio rate, they moved up to an 11% average rate of return instead of 7. This is why it's so critical to work with somebody who knows what they're doing.